Hello, my name is Airi. I won't make a big introduction, so I will just start. So just to put things into perspective, Estonia, below Finland, next to Russia, and north of Latvia and Lithuania. We're only 1.3 million people. We have euro as a currency. We love to have our internet connection everywhere, so if you go travel around in Estonia, it's not a surprise if you'll find a Wi-Fi connection in the middle of the forest. And we take big pride in online voting. But more specifically, I come from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications, and I work in the Department of Information Society Services Development. The story is that Estonia has been developing e-government for the past 15 years, but there really hasn't been a role in the state to take responsibility for the development of public services and to measure the quality of the public services. So that's why in 2011 the department was established. Important to say here is that we're not an IT department, so we use IT as a tool, and it's a very important tool, but it's not necessarily the most important ingredient when developing public services. Once the department was established, they worked for 2 years to give out this green paper. The paper was very important in order to set some foundations and some basics. So what they did was they defined what is a public service, because it was quite evident that many public organizations saw public service from their own point of view, and there was not a common definition. What they also did in this green paper is that they outlined what were the problems that the citizens had when using public services, but also looking at what were the civil servants saying, what was their problems in providing public services. And in the green paper they also gave some proposals for some solutions of how to develop services. The next step was that they had a program, and in the program they did a lot of research. They went around and they developed some frameworks, some tools, some guides to help to develop public services, to have a toolbox to use, and it's common and everybody could use it. Once we had the tools, they had to have a strategy and an action plan, how to go about it and how to use those tools. So that was also in 2013. 2 years further, we had another big event for us. So that was the concept of service owners was approved by the government. So for the first time, the government says that beside our department, in every ministry, they had to have a person on a high management level who is responsible for the services and has to be responsible also for the quality of services. And the final deadline that we have is 1st of March 2016, where our goal is to make public a list of all the e-services that the government offers, and also apply some indicators to measure the quality of the services. To go on, what is our mission? So our mission is to assist organizations, public organization, to measure the quality of the services and also to improve it. And what is our objective is to have a precise overview of what is the quality and cost of services that overall the state provides. On the right, we have tried to draw a little picture of our world that we work in. So on the top we have the end user, so the citizen or the businessman, whoever, who needs to use a public service, and they will have the first contact with a clerk in the office, or they have to fill out the application online, whatever is the contact. And from there, the process starts where the clerk makes the first processes. Then they might send it further to another internal service provider, because often we have some internal services that we need to cooperate. It's not that you can use only one service in one ministry, but it goes across often different ministries. And then the internal service provider might talk to the partner, who might be hired through public procurement. And then it goes back where the partner might talk to the internal service provider again, to the service provider, who then gives the result to the citizen. Your application was approved or it was denied. And what we want is that this process to be transparent, because often it happens that you submit an application and it disappears. You have no knowledge about where it is, what's happening to it. Did it stop somewhere? Do they need some more information from us? And we wanted to be transparent. We wanted the citizen to know, okay, if there's some, the process has stopped somewhere, to see, okay, what is the problem and how long does it take? And will I receive my answer after the 3 months, so I will have to wait again? We also want to make it more cost efficient, that to really see that every process step has a value to the end result, and it's just not moving papers just for moving papers. And lastly, we want the interaction, the first and the final interaction, to be user-friendly, that it is valuable for the citizen, and it's easy and it's not messy. So how do we do that? We realized that we need to find out some truths. First of all, how many services we actually have in the state. Now, in Poland, you know, you have 2,500 services, but in Estonia, we actually don't know how many services we have, because also we have a lot of internal services, and many people have not mapped them out. What is the quality of the services? How cost efficient they are? Are the users satisfied with the services? How much time does it take for the citizen to use the services? And finally, going to the top, who is responsible for the services? Because often when we approach a ministry and ask, okay, we would like to talk to a person who is responsible for services, they first tell us to go to the strategy department. They told us, no, we don't deal with this. Go to the IT. IT says, no, that's not our problem. Go to the minister. The minister is like, no, that's not my field. So we want someone to actually be responsible for the services. So we thought, okay, how do we do this? So we should have some kind of list or a catalog where we can put all the information in. What is the service? What can you do with it? What is the satisfaction with it? Is it free? Is it not free? And how we started? First, we took an Excel file, and first we start with ourselves, because we can't tell other people, other ministries to do something if we haven't looked in the mirror and see what's happening within our ministry. So what we did was go through all the websites of the organizations that are under our governance area and look for services with the eyes of the citizen. And like my colleague said, it's a jungle. I mean, it takes you sometimes 10 clicks to find the right service, and then all you see is the name of the service, but then what about where you can use it, what documents you need? Often information like this is not available. While we were doing that, we also, parallel to that, had a little research going on. It was called the Integrated Portfolio Management of Public Services. There we wanted to see and look for organizations first within Estonia who have already tried to make a more coherent and standardized list of the services they offer, but also look abroad what other countries do and if other countries have found some solutions to this. Of course, our big inspiration is UK. They already have a government page where they have services listed, and they're based on life events. So you get married, you have a child, and according to that you have the different services. What we also found was that the European Commission has this program called Interoperability Solutions for Public Administrations. And there they have actually developed a data model which is called Core Public Service Vocabulary Application Profile. And this data model is actually for creating harmonized, machine-readable descriptions of public services. So we thought, okay, bingo, this is something that we can use. We modified it a little bit, and we made a prototype of a catalog that could possibly be used for describing public services. Once we had prototyped it, we actually made a web application. That was in 2015. Parallel to that, we had this concept of service owners that I mentioned before, approved by the government. One important thing was that not only had the ministries assigned people to take responsibility for services, it was also written that they have to use our catalog. Because without this, probably people would have been like, no, 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 okay, let them do their catalog, and we won't do that. But that was something important for us. And then what happened was that 1st of June, we then took the Excel file and actually put it in the catalog. So before we start introducing it to other ministries, we show that we have done our homework. Why a catalog? Of some of the things I have already mentioned. So it offers one platform where people can use look information about services. Important to note here is that it's more a catalog for information. You can't actually use a service in this catalog, but it will take you to the right door, to the right phone number, or to the right address, or give you the door to the online application. It gives the overview of the quality, uniform presentation of data in a machine-readable form. Also important is that it's the basis for mapping cross-border services. So if other governments decide to take the same data model to describe the services, it's easier to map cross-border services. And in a time where more people are traveling and within Europe, it becomes very relevant. So here how it went. We had an Excel file and we put it in the catalog. So this is actually the picture of what we have on our ministry's webpage. And we have the objectives, the info, and then the last tab is the ministry services. So on the left, in the little gray box, you have the search criteria. You can enter keywords like building license, I don't know, marriage. You can choose an institution if you know already what ministry it offers, but maybe you don't. You can choose the role that you have. Are you a citizen? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you actually another civil servant? Because sometimes you also need to use some services. What kind of service type it is? What channel do you prefer? What domain it is? And then you click on search, and on the right you have then a list. And then how it's displayed, on top you have the name of the service, which is also the link to the service that will take you to the right door. The next is the description of the service. Here we did something that has been mentioned already quite a few times. We put a box with a limited amount of words, and this is to make the civil servants describing services to really think what service they are offering, because often we have this as well. They take a piece of the law and they just put it on the website, and then the poor citizen has to figure out themselves, okay, what do I have to do, or what is this service for me? So this way, if we limit the amount of words, the civil servants have to actually think what they are offering. The next line, you will see the filters, and lastly, it's additional information. So what other channels you can use? Is it only online, or is there a telephone number, office? What are the basic statistics about the service? This I will tell you in a moment. A regulation actually referring to the law. Also, is it free? Do you have to pay some kind of state fee? Is it an active service, or is it something that has already been expired? This we came across a lot as well, that there were services that were expired, but they were still displayed on the websites of the public institutions. One thing that we know, it's not very user-friendly, but for us it was important that the first iterations are quite cheap and have the basic things in it. So once people start using it, and also public institutions start using it, we will find the mistakes and we will improve it. And then we make the next version and the next version and the next version. But for now, it looks like this. We also show numbers there because people like numbers and decisions are made on numbers. And if you go to your boss and you want to make a change, you need to show him numbers. We had 4 indicators that we chose that also came out of a project that we did, where we had 20 very different public services, and we applied 60 indicators on them. And it came out that these were the 4 basic ones that almost all services were able to point out. So that was the number of times that service has been provided, the time spent by the customer using the service, the satisfaction with the service. It's a more emotional thing, but also important. And finally, what is the cost for the state to provide the service? And here we could have an overview, for example, of, all right, we have a service, and these are all the different channels that it's being provided in. And based on that, we can make decisions. Okay, we have a telephone that we keep up 24/7, 365 days in a year, but actually there's 3 times it's being used, but we pay a lot of money for it. It takes time because the customer still has to wait online. Should we have it, or should we just take it out and put the money that we have used to develop another service? So this is the basis for that. We have a nice example of also how not everything is necessarily has to be put into E. We have state support for Olympic winners. So after they have won their golden medal, they can ask for support from the state. Once a year, they have to apply for it. The point is that we have 10 or less Olympic winners. So developing a platform only for them, it's probably not so cost efficient, and maybe it's better to have it in an office or in a bureau that they go once a year. Some of the challenges that we've had, first of all, because it's kind of compulsory now for all the ministries to use this catalog and to describe their e-services there. We came across that even though we have defined what public service is, many people still understand it differently, and it causes a lot of confusion, especially if you have to define what is your public service, because we require you to name it. Another problem is the maturity level. We have some authorities and public organizations that are very mature. They are already very service-minded. For them, this is a step that already has been passed. So for them to map their services out in our catalog is no problem. Others, for example, even ask, but who are our customers, or what services do we offer? So we have a lot of work to do. Thirdly, there is a low motivation to use the catalog, because for now it's an extra burden for them that we ask them to do, and it interferes with their everyday activity. They don't see the immediate results for them, and they really don't see the bigger picture either. So what we like to do is, why I have this picture, is that for them what we say is something wrong, but we believe that as long as we keep telling them what is the benefits for them in the long run, they will once they see the small results, start believing in us. Lastly, we are still learning ourselves. We don't really know exactly how to do things, and we don't have a strict guideline how to go about. We have some goals, like looking at the UK government page, but we don't exactly know how to get there and how to motivate. So it's a challenge for us as well. Finally, it's maybe not a future perspective, but how we would like the things to be. We have the end user, the citizen, and what they actually want from the state is to give value for them. because why is state there for us? It's to give value for the citizen, to have healthcare, rescue, education, social welfare, security. However, because this is the public sector, we have a layer of bureaucracy before we get the value. And that is the process that you have to go through before you get the real value. And often the problem is that the bureaucracy becomes too big. There's too many applications you need to fill out. There's too many phone calls you need to do. It goes too big and the real value diminishes. And we want to avoid that. And what we believe is that with smart solutions, with the help of IT, we're able to make the layer of bureaucracy smaller. We will never lose it because it will always be there, and that's how it is. But we can always make it more efficient, more user-friendly, more transparent. And to exemplify this, I will just show you a small video that we did. And that's the future goal.
Isa rääkis mulle, et kui tema omal ajal kohvikut alas, tuli tal mägede kaupa dokumentidest läbi närida. Eestis läks asi paremaks, kui hakati IT-lahendusi arendama. Mõni asi töötas päris hästi, näiteks maksude maksmine. Aga mõnikord ja valesti arendatud IT-lahendused tekitavad Eestis sekeldusi juurde. Aga õnneks minu isa püsivaid tervisekahjustusi ei saanud. Sealt ta tulebki. Nutikalt lahendatud bürokraatia toimib tänapäeval nähtamatult. Andmed peab sisestama ainult ühe korra. Arvutid liigutavad omavahel infot ja mul on vaja lihtsalt allkirja anda. Nii on minul lihtsam ja ametnikul ka lihtsam. Ja näe, ametnikul on aega isegi kohvikus käia.